Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. Thank you for joining in for the study session this morning. Let us start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dive Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpataruvyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Mande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mishwaram Harihi Om Tatsat Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. Today we are going to start Nectar of Instruction, verse number 2. So to quickly summarize verse number 1 that we completed in our previous session, the first verse talks about Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivva Vegam, Udarupashta Vegam, Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Diraha, Sarvam Apimam Prativimsa Sishyat. So the one who is able to control Vacho Vegam, the urge to speak, Manasa Krodha Vegam, the urges of the mind and the urge of anger, Jivva Vegam, that means the urge of the tongue again, which is the propensity to taste palatable foodstuffs, right? The urge to always eat palatable foodstuffs. Then Udaro Upashta Vegam. Udaro means the urges of the belly and the urges of the genitals. Vegam means urge. Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Diraha Sarvam Apimam Prativimsa Sishyat. Etan Vegan. All of these urges. Yo Vishaheta Diraha. A dhira or a sober person who is able to control these urges. Sarvam Apimam Prativimsa Sishyat. Is able to make disciples all over the world. And the first disciple we saw is our own mind and senses. That means my mind will listen to what I am saying. What I am instructing the mind to do, the mind will instruct the senses to do. Does not work the other way around. And some very important topics that Prabhupada actually covers in chapter 1. So today I'll be sharing the summary of chapter 1, which we can go through. And once we complete chapter 2, then I'll share a summary of chapter 2 like that. So here a couple of important points. What is specified here? Okay, let me share my screen. I'll share the summary slide of verse number 1 of Nectar of Instruction, and then we will quickly do a summarization of verse 1, and then we'll go to verse number 2. Let me share my screen. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let me quickly share my screen. First, we will do preface. We already completed preface. So in preface, we completed some very important sections, such as what is this Krishna consciousness movement? The Krishna consciousness movement, whose supervision it is done under? So it is done under the supervision of, oh, what happened? So this Krishna consciousness movement, it is done under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. Yeah, and then what is the prayer of Vaishnava Acharyas? Vaishnava Acharyas are always praying Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahumora Asha Prarthana Karai Sada Narottama Das. Right? What are the prayer of the Vaishnava Acharyas? They always eternally want to take shelter. The preface is written by Prabhupada, right? So Prabhupada is saying we eternally want to take shelter at the lotus feet of Guru and Gauranga, especially that of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Rupa Raghunatha Pade. Right? Rupa Goswami is the Abhideya Acharya, and Raghunatha Das Goswami represents a Prayojana Acharya. So Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Hama Bujabu Se Jugala Piriti. When will I get the interest to study the Goswami's literatures? Then we studied very important topic, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower, right? So if we approach the study of these subject matters with submission and with a submissive mind, with humility, and with an attitude of inquiry to understand and apply it in our life, then we will be able to understand the transcendental subject matters. And then we went on to what is the meaning of Goswami, means one who has controlled his senses. And how do we make our life successful? We make our life successful by following the instructions given in nectar of instruction. Basically, it is Upadesha Amrita. Amrita means nectar. So Upadesha Amrita means the nectar of instructions. If we follow the nectar of these instructions, then we will be able to be successful in our spiritual life. And then nectar of instruction verse 1, we said that the 6 kind of urges that we already said: urge to speak, mind's demands, actions of anger, urges of the tongue and belly and genitals. Right? And then we also discussed about sanctioned, sanctified and regulated. Sanctioned means what is given by the Lord as consumable by human beings, which is patram pushpam phalam toyam. And then sanctified means we offer it to the Lord and then we honor Krishna prasadam. And regulated means that we have a specific time frame. This is the time when I'll have my breakfast. This is the time I'll have my lunch. 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day. And this is the time, right? Like that, we are regulated in our habits. And then we also discussed who is a Godasa and who is a Goswami. Godasa is one who is a servant of the senses, and Goswami is one whose servant his senses are with them. Okay, so let's move on to verse number 2 of nectar of instruction. The second verse of nectar of instruction basically talks about where is it go? Yeah. So basically, the second verse of nectar of instruction. Let me share my screen. Right, it's going to talk about how do we need to. Again, it's going to talk about the things to avoid. 6 things to avoid. Right. First and foremost, it's talking about Atya Ahara, which we've already spoken about in the first verse. It is part of this Jiva Vegam. Right. In Jiva Vegam itself, we've studied how we should not eat more than necessary. And here, Atyahara Prayashas. So we're going to talk about 6 things which will destroy our bhakti. Right. So let's request devotees to raise your hands, and then we can start reading the second verse of nectar of instruction. Okay. So who would like to read? Atyaharaha prayashascha prajalpa niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashati. Okay, Pallavi Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. What is Yarna?
Synopsis, synonyms you can read first, and then you can read the translation.
Okay.
Ati
Okay.
aharaha.
Ati araha, overeating or too much collecting. Prayashah, over endeavoring. Cha and Prajalpa, idle talking. Niyama, rules and regulations. Agraha, too much attachment to, or agraha, too much neglect of. Janasangha, association with worldly minded persons. Cha and lolyam, ardent longing or greed. Cha and sadbhi, by these six bhakti, devotional service, vinashyati, is destroyed. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following six activities: eating more than necessary, or collecting or more funds than required, over enduring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Fourth, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness and being greedy for mundane achievements.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Oh, okay, Hare Krishna.
Purport. Yeah, just give me 2 minutes. So here we'll just see Ati ahara. Ahara means eating. Ati means overeating, eating more than what is required. Prayasaha. Prayasaha means over endeavoring. That means we try to, His Grace Radhisham Prabhu was talking about an example, right? Where a person he earns 45,000 rupees per month. And then he's got an opportunity to earn 50,000 per month. Right? So he only has to work for 2 hours extra. So he's already working for 8 to 9 hours. Now he's got an opportunity to earn 5,000 rupees more per month, but for which he has to work for another 2 hours. Right? That's what the boss is saying. So he comes home, he asks his wife, and the wife is saying, "Oh, we'll get a round amount of 50,000. You should take up that offer." And then what happens? He takes up that offer, and then what happens? He works for 11 hours now. Right? He's working for 11 hours. Then his eyes are strained. He's always on the laptop. He's got a backache. He's got spondylitis. All these problems come. And then what happens? He goes to the doctor. And the doctor charges 5,000 rupees. Right? And along with the medicines and everything, it comes to 5,000 rupees. So His Grace Radhisham Prabhu mentioned. So did the person actually gain anything? Because he was getting 5,000 rupees more salary. Even that will not be 5,000, because after taxes and all, it will not be 5,000. But for even if he's saying, I think that he's got the complete 5,000 rupees. Then also what happens? He is giving the 5,000 to the doctor. So everybody said zero, no loss, no gain. That's what everybody told. And then His Grace Radhisham Prabhu said, no, he is gained. What does he gain? He's gained the headache of going to the hospital. He's gained the backache. He's gained the the trouble of having medicines, which is going to have further side effects like that. So that is what is prayashascha. Prayashascha means we endeavor more because we are greedy to get more and more and more. In that way, when we always, right, in Tamil there is a saying, podumendra maname ponseyum marundu, right? That means if we have a heart where we are satisfied with whatever we have, we don't over endeavor, we don't collect more funds than required, try to be greedy to get more and more and more, right? Whatever we are getting by our 8 to 9 hours of work in the office, and then we're able to practice spiritual life properly, sadhana in the morning, that kind of life only we should aspire for. We should not try to increase our requirements by wanting to get more and more money, more and more articles, our resources like that. That's what it is. Prayasaha. And prajalpaha. Prajalpa means idle talking. That means in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna talks about prajalpa. Right? Prajalpa, Krishna says mauna. Instead of prajalpa, he says, how do we avoid prajalpa? That is by mauna. But what is mauna? Then Prabhupada clarifies in Bhagavad Gita, what is mauna? Mauna is not about just keeping quiet. Mauna means to always talk about Krishna. No idle talking, no gossiping, right? No gramya katha, only Krishna katha. And then niyama, agraha and agraha. There are two meanings for niyama, agraha. What is that? Niyama, agraha. Agraha means I'm looking forward to something. Then too attached to doing something. Right? Niyama, agraha. Another one is niyama, agraha. Agraha means I don't want to do certain things. Right? So both are bad. right? I should not be too much attached to, or I should not be too much neglectful of, right? I should be attached to doing it for the purpose of the spirit of the rule, not just following the rules and regulations just for the sake of it, like a tick mark exercise. Chanting करना है 16 rounds, मैंने tick mark कर दिया, right? मेरा हो गया आज का कोटा, right? It's not about that. At least you should do it as a matter of duty, but even better than that is to do it for the spirit of the rule. What is the spirit of chanting? Our wanting to reawaken our love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Jana Sangha. Jana Sangha means association with worldly minded persons. What is worldly minded persons? Right? People who don't remind us of Krishna are worldly minded people. Right? That is why we should always seek the association of devotees. Why? Because the devotees will enable us to remember Krishna. Jana Sangha means we will talk about where did you get this sari, what did you do yesterday, what film you watched yesterday, where did you go shopping yesterday. All that will divert our mind from Krishna. That is why we need to avoid Jana Sangha, right? And then Laulyam. Laulyam again is like Atyahara, right? Ardent longing and greed. I want more money. I want a bigger car. I want a 4 BHK house. I want a Mercedes Benz car, right? Not being satisfied, but wanting more and more and more, right? The more they're attached to material things, the less we will be attached to Krishna and to our spiritual practices, right? It is like inversely proportional. The more we have our attachment for Krishna, the less we will have our attachment for material objects. And these are the Shadbhi. What are the 6 things? Over endeavoring, overeating, idle talking, or talking Gramya Katha, or following rules and regulations just for the spirit of it, or rejecting them, and then association with worldly minded persons, and then greed for material things. These are the 6 things. Shadbhi, Bhakti, Vinashyati. These are the 6 things that will destroy devotional service, right? These are the 6 things that will destroy our, Bhakti creeper or the Bhakti Lata, like that. Yes, Pallavi Mataji, go ahead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has 3 primary energies or potencies. The first is called Antarak Shakti or the internal potency. The second is called Tatastha Shakti or the marginal potency. The third is called the Bahiranga Shakti or external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies, being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Jivatmas or atomic living entities must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.13. Mahatmanastu mam prartha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. The word Mahatma refers to Mataji. Sorry, Mataji, not able to hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay. So we'll just discuss this, Mataji, and then we can go ahead. So here, Prabhupada is talking about what is meant by the 3 energies of the Lord, right? What is meant by those who have taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So here Prabhupada is saying human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Plain living and high thinking means that we are not over endeavoring. We are not wanting, have started Bhagavad Gita. No, we are starting in the next 5 minutes. Okay. So what was I saying? What was I saying? Yeah. So here Prabhupada, we're talking about over endeavoring, right? Over endeavoring means prayashascha, right? So in Bhagavad Gita and even in this purport, right, Prabhupada is talking about simple living and high thinking, plain living and high thinking. right? How do we attain to the stage of simple living? That means we are regulated in our wants. We don't want more and more and more, right? The more we accumulate, the more we are confused, right? That is why they say that if if everything is cluttered, in the place is cluttered, or our mind is cluttered with a lot of desires, then vyavasayatmika buddhir, what is that? Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekaha kurunandana, right? That one pointed focus of what we want to attain will not be attained if we are too much attached to material things. If you are too much attached to wanting more and more and more of materialistic things. So how do we adopt this method of simple living and high thinking? How do we take to this process of simple living and high thinking? By being satisfied with whatever we have, right? Whatever we have obtained by the mercy of the Lord, we are satisfied, and then we live happily along with that, right? And then Prabhupada goes on to explain the three energies of the Lord: the Antaranga Shakti, which is internal potency; Bahiranga Shakti, which is external potency; and Tatastha Shakti, which is the marginal potency. So what is this marginal potency? We are all marginal potencies, right? Tatastha Shakti. And then we also spoke about, earlier also we have discussed about this Tata. Tata means banks, right? Tata means sometimes the banks of the river. Sometimes they are wet and sometimes they are dry. Similarly, we are Tatastha energies of the Lord. Sometimes you're engaging in spiritual practices. Sometimes you're engaging in sense gratification, right? But the more we practice devotional service, the more we will be inclined towards the spiritual energy of the Lord. Just like in the rainy season, generally the banks are always wet. There is always water. But in the summer seasons, it all dries up, right? So in our spiritual practices, we have to ensure that there is always the rainfall of devotional service. That means every day we chant Hare Krishna, every day we hear nectar of instruction, every day we hear Bhagavad Gita, every day we hear Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. All of these things when we do, then we are more inclined towards the internal pleasure potency of the Lord. And then Krishna, Prabhupada actually quotes what is quoted by Krishna in chapter 9.13. What does he say? Mahatmanas tu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. Who is a Mahatma? A Mahatma is a person who takes shelter of the internal pleasure potency of the Lord, right? And Mahatmanas tu mam partha daivim prakritim. Daivim means the transcendental energy or the internal pleasure potency of the Lord. Daivim prakritim ashritaha. Ashritaha means taking shelter of, right? Being under the care or being under the guidance of the internal pleasure potency. Bhajanti ananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam. Bhajanti ananya. Ananya means all the time, undeviated devotional service. Bhajanti ananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam. Because they know the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be original and avyayam. That means the Lord is not exhaustible. Right? So now Prabhupada is going on to describe the word Mahatma. Who is a Mahatma? The opposite of Mahatma is a Duratma. Duratma means he does all the activities which will entangle him in this material world. And Mahatma is a person who takes shelter of the internal energy of the Lord, which means that he is going to engage more and more in the devotional service of the Lord. All right. So now let's go on to Bhagavad Gita. So we'll continue the definition of Mahatma tomorrow. In our not tomorrow, Monday. When we meet on Monday, we will go ahead with our understanding of this particular terminology. Who is a Mahatma and who is a Duratma? You already know, right? Prabhupada has already explained here. Mahatmana Sumapartha Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. But more elaboration on who is a Mahatma, how rare a Mahatma is. All of that we will understand now on Monday. All right. So now let's go to Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita, what are we doing? Okay, let's do the Pranamantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yeah. So in chapter 1, what we'll be seeing, we saw initially the importance of the place which is known as Kurukshetra. And then we saw how Duryodhana went to his teacher, went to Bhishma Pitamaha, and he is speaking diplomatic words to them, trying to encourage them so that they would give their best and fight against the Pandavas. Because Duryodhana knew that in their heart of hearts, they had an affection towards the Pandavas. So he went and told them that don't exhibit your affection here in the battlefield. We have to win this war. And then he goes on to say, who are these strong warriors on the side of the Pandavas, and who are the strong warriors on my side. And then finally, he is despondent, and when he continues to tell Bhishma Pitamaha, right, that we have to protect Bhishma Pitamaha, and then he tells, this does not undermine all of the other warriors in the army, right? And Bhishma Pitamaha, just to put an end to all of this, what does he do? He immediately starts blowing the conch to give pleasure to Duryodhana. But here we see that when the conch shell is blown by Bhishma Pitamaha, there is nothing, there is no mention of any transcendental or any auspiciousness when Bhishma Pitamaha blows the conch. Why? Because Bhishma Pitamaha, although he is a devotee of the Lord, he is on the side of adharma, right? Always the side of dharma only will win. But however, Bhishma Pitamaha blew the conch so as to encourage Duryodhana. And then Lord Krishna and Arjuna also started blowing their conch shells. And you saw how after this, in text number 14, Krishna is introduced not as he's a superhero, but he's introduced as a servant of his devotee, right? He's introduced as a charioteer who's riding Uchchaishrava. That means he's riding white horses. That's how Krishna is. Krishna's introduction is there in the battle of Kurukshetra, and also in our Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna blew his conch shell, and then the names of the conch shells are given: Panchajanyam Rishikesho, Devadattam Dhananjaya, right? So in this way, Krishna blew his conch shell, which is Panchajanya, and then Arjuna blew his conch shell, which is Devadatta, right? In this way, Paundra is the conch shell of Bhima, like the description is given. And it's also stated that when the Pandavas blew the conch shells, then there was auspiciousness, and it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Shattered the hearts. Why? Because it was indicating that all of the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas, are going to be destroyed at the end of the war. And also we saw about how there were different signs of how the Pandavas will win, right? There was this the chariot of Arjuna had this flag which was marked with Hanuman's symbol, and then also the Agni Dev had given the chariot to Arjuna, and also Krishna himself, who's the husband of the goddess of fortune, Madhavi. That's why Krishna is referred to as Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Krishna is Lakshmi Devi, will always be there. That means fortune will always be there. So in this way, victory is already destined for the Pandavas. And then we saw how Arjuna is asking Krishna, by Krishna's own will, Arjuna is asking Krishna, take my chariot in between both the armies. Let me see who all have come to fight the war. And then Krishna places the chariot in a very strategic position, wherein Arjuna gets bewildered and he says, I don't want to fight. And then Prabhupada explains in the purport how this is the nature of a Vaishnava, that Vaishnavas are compassionate. They don't want to cause trouble to others just because they want something. They're willing to tolerate not having it also, if they do, but they don't want trouble others. They don't want to kill others like that. So, and in the next purport, Prabhupada says, when it is mentioned here that Arjuna's Gandiva bow slips down, and he says, I'm not going to perform this duty. It's better that I go and do renunciation in the forest. And then Prabhupada says that Arjuna is in the bodily platform. And then Arjuna goes ahead and gives various reasons, right? He says, I will incur sinful reactions if I kill my guru, if I kill my relatives, if I kill my great grandfathers. Whom will I show off all of my kingdom, right? And in this way, he was giving so many reasons. There'll be Varna Shankara, all that he'll be giving the reasons why I will not fight. And we also saw how, as a disciple, we, as long as we are giving excuses, as long as we are, giving an answer to the spiritual master, just to get an okay from the spiritual master, we will not get any guidance from the spiritual master. However, if you want guidance from the spiritual master, we need to surrender, like how Arjuna will surrender in second chapter. Until such time, Arjuna is going to continue to give reasons why he wants to do certain things. But finally, he will surrender to Krishna, and then Krishna will start speaking. Yeah. All right. So let's move forward from text number 37. Devotees who want to read may raise your hands. Yadi api etana pashyanti lobopahata chetasaha kulakshaya kritam dosham mitradrohe chapatakam katam nanyayam asmabhi papat asmani vartitum kulakshaya kritam dosham prapasyad bhirjanardhana. Moshmi Mataji, go ahead. Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Mataji, go ahead.
O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends. Why should we? Why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these uh, ski- acts of sin? Purpose. Uh, uh, Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse a battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjun could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjun considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjun, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Challenge obligation is actually binding when the actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these uh, pros and cons, Arjun decided not to fight.
Yeah. So, thank you, Mataji. So here, so Arjuna is deciding not to fight, right? Now Krishna will not say anything, right? He's saying, giving different reasons, very sinful reactions, and then he's saying, what is the use of this war when everything is going to, everything, nobody is going to enjoy anything, right? There's going to be so much of damage and other things, right? And so Arjuna decided not to fight. Yes. Go ahead, Mataji.
Destruction of
कुलक्षये
the
प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मो अभिभवत्युत. Translation. Yes, mother.
with the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family became involved in irreli- uh, irreligion.
Purport, Mr. Prabhupada.
Purpose.
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious tradition to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying process in the family, beginning from the birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spir- chance of spiritual uh,
Salvation.
spiritualization. Therefore, uh,
No
therefore,
purpose.
for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Dhanavad pranam.
Hare Krishna,
So,
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So here we see that Arjuna has continued giving reasons, right? Now he's saying, the Varnashrama, who are the leaders of the society, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, right? So who are all coming for the war, right? It is said that the Kshatriyas are engaged in the war, but all the soldiers who are normal families living in Hastinapur, they've also come for the war, right? Only the husbands have come. That means the wives and the children are at home. So what happens when these soldiers all die? And what happens? The wives all become widows, right? And then the head of the family is not there to guide them, and that is this reason they may develop religious habits, and they will lose their chance for spiritual salvation. The children will not be guided properly because the father, elder members of the family, the father, etc., would die. Right? All of these are different reasons given by Arjuna, and Krishna is just waiting and watching. What is it? What is the next step he's going to do? Like that. Okay. All right. So let's. Who wants to read now? One second. Why am I not seeing that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All right, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Adharma Bivavat Krishna Pradushyanti Kulastriyah Strishu Dushtashu Varshneya Jayate Varna Shankaraha.
Hare Krishna. Pranams.
Translation
and purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, a descendant of Vrishni comes unwanted progeny. Purport. Good population in the human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in the society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to the misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of the religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally, the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Madam. Yeah, so you can continue reading. We'll just see what is mentioned here. Right here, there is another what do you call pehlu? They say, right? Another what can we say? One is the father or the elders in the family will die. Because of that, the children will not get guidance. But here, another point that Prabhupada is making here is, according to Chanakya Pandit, women are not intelligent, right? On the failure of Varnashrama system, that means if the husband is not there, then women will mix with other men, and in this way there will be Varna Shankara. Varna Shankara means unwanted population. What is unwanted population? Like we saw in Nectar of Instruction when we studied, right? What is that? The use of the genitals. Vacho vegam, manasu krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udara upashta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishaheta diraha, sarvam apiman prativim sasishat, right? That means when illicit sex becomes prominent, then what happens? That's what Prabhupada is mentioning here as adultery. That means unwanted population becomes goes on the rise, right? Prabhupada also talks about it in Ishopanishad, wherein Prabhupada is saying that the overpopulation is not at all a concern, right? It depends on the quality of the population, right? If there is enough for every man's need, Prabhupada says, but there is not enough for people's greed, right? So population is not a major concern, right? But what is a concern is the quality of the population. So here Arjuna is right in terms of saying that people are going to die, the head of the family is going to die, and there will be adultery, there will be Varna Shankara and all of that, right? But dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Ultimately dharma, right? Although we may have our own interpretations of what is right and what is not right, we have to check with our spiritual master. When Krishna is saying dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, whatever the Lord says, that is only dharma, right? There is also another very wonderful incident here. See, we all know Yudhishthira Maharaj is always known for speaking the truth, right? At one point, Krishna asks Yudhishthira Maharaj, right, in order to make Drona, right? In order to make Drona, go down in his fight, right? Because until Drona and Bhishma Pitama are all there, it was going to be difficult for the Pandavas to win the battle. So Krishna actually told Yudhishthira Maharaj to tell Dronacharya that Ashwatthama is dead, right? And we all know Yudhishthira Maharaj will never lie, right? Whatever happens, Yudhishthira Maharaj will never lie. So what happened in this case? Yudhishthira Maharaj was, feeling sad, but then he devised a way how he can speak a lie, right? Ashwathama, we also know, is the name of the elephant. So that elephant had died, right, in the war. So what did he say? Oh, Dronacharya, Ashwathama. And then in his own mind, he said, the elephant is dead. And then Dronacharya, he became very perturbed, and he felt very sad that his son has died. But then immediately Arjuna, it is said that Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot never touched the ground because he was always speaking the truth. And at this instance, Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot fell down on the ground. So many of them explain that why did Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot fall down on the ground? Because Yudhishthira Maharaj told a lie. Actually, it is not the case. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj did not completely trust Krishna. That because Krishna told him to tell Ashwathama. Why did he have to have that kind of thing? When a spiritual master tells something, you should not doubt it. You should immediately with confidence tell it. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he considered his principle of truthfulness more important than following the instructions of the spiritual master, who's Krishna. That is why the chariot fell down. Not because, because he doubted his spiritual master. That is why he said, Ashwathama, the elephant, died. So in this way, he was trying to maintain his own principles of honesty. But we can give up lower principles if there is a need to adopt a higher principle, and hearing to the spiritual master, following the instructions of the spiritual master is more important than mundane principles of being honest, all of these things, right? So that is why it is said that Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot fell down, because Yudhishthira Maharaj thought that this principle of being honest is even higher than hearing from his spiritual master, Lord Shri Krishna, and telling whatever is told by a spiritual master. You should be confident to tell it, right? So in this case also, Arjuna, very, very morally very, very correct. Whatever Arjuna is saying is perfect. But when Krishna is asking him to do something, to talk something against the spiritual master, in itself is wrong. And then every other principle gets died down there itself. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Text number 41. Yes, Mataji, go ahead. Who is reading? Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Are you able to unmute? Where are you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Mataji. Text 41, na? 40 I finished.
41. Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha atanti pitro yesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Translation.
Translation and purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Purport. According to the rules and regulations of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam, food, are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in the Bhagavatam 11.5.41. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitranam na kinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmanayah sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam paripritya kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Very wonderful. So, we are not obligated to any of the demigods. Yeah, if you are perfectly situated in the platform of devotional service, right? Does that mean that we stop offering pindadan and all of those ritualistic ceremonies? If we are completely dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if we don't have any material desires, if you are in that platform of pure devotional service already, ahaitukya apratihata, then we can go ahead and give up these activities, right? Because even in Narani Charajan, right, Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, to a person who's completely absorbed in devotional service, who has no material interest, who works 24 hours a day simply for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, for him there is no obligation towards any of the demigods. However, those people who have taken to the path of devotional service but yet are not at that platform of pure devotional service need to continue performing all of these activities. Why? Because we are not yet pure, right? We cannot artificially renounce the activities of varnashrama dharma. So we need to perform those activities, but we offer prasadam, right? To we call devotees, and then we offer prasadam, or we sponsor for prasadam in the temple where the devotees are given prasadam. In this way we purify and help our forefathers. Sometimes in whatever state they may be in, like sometimes, if some of them have got ghostly bodies, or some of them have been caught up in some way, then by offering this pindadan we actually helping them get relieved from their position, and in this way we are helping them continue the process of devotional service, like that, wherever it was left off, or get an opportunity to do devotional service by getting a human form, like that. All right, so let's go on. Text number 42. Who'll read? दोषरेते कुलज्ञानं वर्णशङ्करकारकैः उच्चाद्यन्ते जातिधर्मा कुलधर्मश्च शाश्वतः. Anyone wants to read? Okay, Sudha Mataji, go ahead. By the evil deeds.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Pranam.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Purport. Community projects for the four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently people forget the aim of life. Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos.
Yeah. Again, Arjuna is going on, with his own, with his own material intelligence. He is trying to find out reasons why we should not be fighting the war. Okay, go ahead, Mataji.
उत्सन्नकुल धर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवति यनुशुश्रुमा. Translation by divine translation purport by divine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Purport. Arjuna bases his argument not on his own personal experience but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of actual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayashchitta. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as the result of sinful activities.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
That's what Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much. All right. So here we were seeing how the importance of atonement is given here, right? So of course, Prabhupada is, does not leave any opportunity to tell us what is the right thing to do. If we do something wrong, we have to atone. And then what is real atonement, right? It is not like, it is like we were seeing in Nectar of Instruction also, how an elephant takes bath and then comes to the banks and then rolls its body with sand. What is the use of such kind of a bath, right? It's useless. Similarly, when we are committing some sinful activities, right? Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, right? Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi nami bhakta pranashati. Kshipram means very quickly. Shikram, like that we say in Tamil, right? Kshipram means very, very quickly. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Even sinful people can become very pious people very, very quickly if they engage in this process of devotional service. However, having said that, it is also an offense that to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Like, we should not commit sinful activities thinking that, oh, I have completed my 16 rounds. I've done chanting. On that strength, I will be protected against the reactions of all of my sinful activities. That is not acceptable, right? That is why it is said, Ajamil, right? He engaged in various sinful activities, although he was a pious Brahmana before, by just, looking at, two people mating with each other. He got so, he fell down and then he started engaging in abominable activities, sinful activities, right? But at the time of death, right, by the grace of the Lord, he named his son, who was born by the prostitute only. He named the son Narayan. He remembered the Lord. He did not remember the Lord. He just called out to his son, whose name was Narayan. And in this way, he got a second chance, right? So how are we saying that Ajamil was still protected, although he committed sinful activities? Yes, Ajamil was protected. He got a second chance because he did not commit the sinful activities thinking that, oh, my past credits of my the services that I've done will protect me. No, he got a second chance because he did not commit Vaishnava Aparadh. He did not knowingly commit sinful activities on the strength of the past pious activities. He genuinely fell down by seeing something, which was abominable, and then he fell down. But his past credits helped him get a second chance, right? But we are also aware, every day we chant the 10 offenses to the holy name. It is an offense to commit sinful activities on the strength of the chanting of the holy name. And then we go ahead and perform sinful actions irrespective of having the knowledge. Then that is what is said to be, it's not atonement, right? Atonement means we regret what we have done. We don't repeat what we've done. Like Ajamil, when he got the second chance, after that he did not go around with the prostitute thinking that I will contract it by doing some pious activities. No, that should not be the intent of a devotee or any person who's performing pious activities, right? When a person is regretting that I should not be performing those sinful activities and he takes up to the path of devotional service, then that is real atonement. That means he realizes his mistake and then he will not get the reactions of his sinful activities. Why? Because all that will be taken away by the power of bhakti, provided one does not repeat that mistake. If one continues to repeat, then also there is a clause which says that because of conditioning, past life conditioning, if a person repeats a mistake also, that will be taken care of by the Lord. The Lord will nullify that. But it all depends on the attitude of the person, right? If a person is sincerely trying, like we are all chanting Hare Krishna, but some or the other, my mind keeps on going, thinking of other things, right? Which is not in my control. What is within my control? I try to bring my mind back to the chanting of Hare Krishna. Wherever it wanders, bring my mind back. That much only I can do, right? I'm not having the full control of, making my mind focus on Hare Krishna mantra. I keep bringing it back and then I'm dependent on the Lord. In such a case, Krishna helps those devotees who are sincere in their practice and who are not dubious. That is why it is said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavana. He is not Kapata Pavana, right? Somebody may be fallen because of the past conditioning, and that's such a Patita Pavan. Such a Patita or a fallen person is delivered by Patita Pavan, also Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But a Kapata Pavan means what? I think and calculate that I've done devotional service, now let me do some simple activities. Let me enjoy sense gratification. That kind of mindset is Kapata. That is duplicitous activity. Duplicitous acts will never be protected or forgotten by the Supreme Lord, or will be forgiven by the Supreme Lord. And we have to undergo the reactions. Okay, text number 44. Aho bada mahat papam kartum yavasita vayam yadraja sukalobhena hantum swajana mudyataha. Okay, Rohini Mataji, go ahead. Translation.
Translation. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. But driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world. But Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities.
Yeah, so again, Arjuna is giving some reasons why he will not fight. But Prabhupada in his purport is always telling us, both the sides of the coin, right? Arjuna is a saintly devotee of the Lord. He is conscious of moral principles. And we need to know this also. We cannot just simply engage in sinful acts just because we are doing a devotional service, right? All this is right, but only the context is not right. Right, the context in which or the reasons why he is giving, for not fighting the war. The reasons are all correct. We should be following the principles of dharma. We should not be unnecessarily trying to accumulate another's property. We should not be unnecessarily fighting with some person in order to fulfill our demands. All that is right. But in this context, when Krishna is asking him to fight, he has to fight. And this is also another lesson for us, that if you are not convinced about something, we can also ask the spiritual master any number of times. It is not that you have to blindly follow, right? There was very beautiful pastime. I think it was told by Raj Bihari Prabhu in one of his sessions. So he was saying, there is a wedding. In that wedding, there is a rat. There are too many rats. So what do? They bring a cat and they near the Kalyana Mandapam, this thing now where the bride and the groom take their feras. There they put a cat. They tied a cat there. Right? Seeing that cat, all of the rats went away and the wedding could happen very nicely. And then in that particular generation, they always had a cat. Right, and in the son's wedding also they kept a cat near the wedding mandapam, and the entire generation, they always kept a cat. They thought that it was a family tradition that we are supposed to keep a cat whenever a wedding takes place in the house. Only then, the couple will prosper very nicely, right? So what is this? A blind faith. This is stupidity, right? So we don't follow something just because somebody we also worshipped. We also, like, even before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was also praying to so many devatas. Oh, I should pass in the CA exam. Oh, I should get a nice job. Oh, I should earn a lot of money. Oh, I should get a good house. Oh, I should get a good husband. Whatever. I'm not saying I prayed for all of this, but that's what we generally pray for, isn't it? We want all of these materialistic things because we think happiness is in that, right? But so if somebody asks us, oh, why are you worshipping, Ganesha, like that, and then what do we say? Oh, my parents worship Ganesha. I'm also worshipping Ganesha. So it's as simple as the cat which is there. Why the cat is there? Because my father, in his wedding, he put a cat at the mandapam. Why did the father? If you ask the father why it was there, my grandfather put it. Right? So we are not blind followers. We are not having a blind faith. We are having faith in the parampara, because it is coming in a bona fide disciplic succession. Faith is important, but we have to use our intelligence in what we put our faith in. Secondly, whenever we have a bona fide spiritual master, we trust the words of the spiritual master. But until we are convinced, we are always have the right to make humble inquiry. Only thing is that the inquiry should not be in a challenging spirit. Oh, does he know? He's my guru. Let me check if he knows the answer. With that attitude, if you're going to ask the question, the knowledge will not be revealed in our heart. At the same time, we need not be blind. We need not be blindly following what even our spiritual master says. We can humbly inquire. May I understand what is the purpose? Right? So that we can also preach it to others. When somebody else asks a question, you should be convinced why we are doing certain things. So that is another lesson that we learn from here. Right? Arjuna keeps on asking Krishna, why this? Why now? Why that? I don't want to do this because of all of this. Right? But until he surrenders, he's not getting the answer. Secondly, it is also a lesson that we can always inquire, but we have to have the spirit of surrender and humility. Okay. Rohini Mataji, go ahead.
Yadimam apratikaram ashastram shastra panayah dhritarashtrarane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Purport: it is a custom according to Kshatriya fighting principles that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness, resulting from being a great devotee of the Lord.
Yeah. So, perfect. Right? Arjuna is a great devotee of the Lord, but he is apparently put into illusion. Why is he making all these arguments? Right? In future, people like you and me, right? We are conditioned souls. We don't know what to do. Right? Sometimes in the name of material compassion, we want to compromise on the principles of devotional service. So, Krishna is very, very clearly, he will explain in the future. But Prabhupada is actually giving us is revealing, the important points of learning at this particular juncture itself. But Krishna would reveal it in the second chapter once Arjuna surrenders. That it is one can be soft-hearted, but not at the cost of performing one's dharma. Right? It is essential for Arjuna to have a kingdom, and he has to rule. That is his dharma. And if somebody is preventing him from doing his dharma, it is his right to engage in the war to get his share of the kingdom. Right? So it is not that we are very nice. That's why His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj gives the example, gives a description. What is the difference between humility and inferiority complex? Right? Humility means we know that nothing happens without the mercy of the Lord. We are surrendered to the Lord. That is humility. Right? Humility is honesty. We know that my own ability, I will not be able to achieve anything in life. I need the mercy of the Lord. But what is inferiority complex? Inferiority complex means, I cannot do anything. I'm useless. So I don't endeavor only, right? Because I think I'm useless, I will not endeavor my work also. I'll simply be in depression. I'll be crying. I'm so useless, right? Like that. That is inferiority complex. But what is humility? Humility means I perform my duty to the best of my ability. But I know that the results are not just basis my effort. Right? Karma daiva netrena. Karma I have to do, but daiva netrena, by the mercy of the Lord, that is how results come. Right? So I'm neither in this extreme that I don't work at all. I'm feeling very sad and depressed all the time. That is inferiority complex. Or nor do I have this superiority complex. Oh, मैंने एक बार कुछ ठान लिया तो करके दिखाऊंगा. Right? That is foolishness. Nothing will work by our own independent ability alone. Right? So we have to depend on the mercy of the Lord. But at the same time, we need to give our best efforts. That is humility. Knowing well that everything, not even a blade of grass, moves without the sanction of the Lord. That is humility. Okay. Sanjovacha. Evam yuktva Arjuna sanke ratopastha upavishat visrujya sa sharam chapam shoka samvigna manasaha. Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, Gayatri Mataji.
Huh?
Gayatri Mataji, she's raised
Okay,
her hand.
okay. Yeah. Gayatri Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on this battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrow and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with the grief. Purport. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on a chariot, but he was not so affiliated with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of a Lord is fitted to receive self-knowledge. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observation the armies on the battlefield of a Kurukshetra.
Hari Bol. So we have come to the end of the first chapter. So what do we study in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? It is very good to have all the moral principles: humility, tolerance, self-sacrifice, not being over-ambitious, etc. Very, very good, but not at the cost of fulfilling the instructions of a spiritual master. Secondly, we are not going to speak learned words to our spiritual master. Like His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, I believe, he says, or some other Maharaj, I'm not very sure, we should always be a fool in front of our spiritual master. We should never try to show our Sanskrit shlokas, memory abilities, our ability to, speak wonderfully in Bhagavad Gita, not to our spiritual master. It is only by his grace that we are able to even understand a little bit of whatever we are speaking. Right? We should never show our abilities unless our spiritual master, it could be our Shiksha Gurus also. Unless they ask us, right? That time we should not, keep quiet. That, I will not answer. No. See, when our spiritual master asks us, when our Shiksha Gurus asks us a question, he wants to know whether we have understood, whether we have understood what they have taught us. So in that case, we have to answer. And then, why we should answer? That means if you answer wrongly, then we know that we need to be corrected, right? That is the reason why they ask us questions. But we should not show off in front of our spiritual master, right? In that way, what happens? Punar Mushiko Bhava, right? I had mentioned the story before also, but let's quickly also talk about this. We have completed the first chapter. We have about 5 minutes. So this is a story of a rat. A rat is, this is a different rat, not that Kalyana Mandapamala. So this is a rat which is always chased by a cat. Okay, so this rat goes to a sadhu and tells the sadhu, "Oh sadhu, help me! This cat is always chasing me." And then what happens? The sadhu tells the rat, "Okay, I'll make you into a cat." And then the rat, which has now become a cat, is feeling so happy. Now that no cats can chase me, I'm already a cat. And then after one day, by the end of the day, the dog is chasing the cat. Again, the cat goes to the sadhu. And then the sadhu saying, okay, don't worry, I will make you a dog. All right. So he became a dog. So the rat became a dog. And then what happens? Now the wild animal, the tiger, is chasing the dog. And then the dog runs to the sadhu. Sadhu, I have to become a tiger because the tiger is chasing me. And then what does he say? Okay, become a tiger. And then what do you do? Like that, he looks at the sadhu, trying to devour the sadhu because he's now a tiger. And then what does the sadhu say? Punar mushiko bhava. Become a rat again, isn't it? So in that way, if we try to show our prowess to our spiritual master, by whose mercy we have understood little bit, then we will become Punar Mushiko Bhava. We will become rats again, right? So in this way, humility is what is most essential. And as we go on to the second chapter, I think we can start with the second chapter. Let's do a couple of verses. Gayatri Mataji, you wanted to read? We can go ahead with the second chapter. We will study until Arjuna surrenders, or we will see. We'll probably do about 2-3 verses. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Who wanted to read? Gayatri Mataji, you are there, or Shobha Mataji is giving darshan. Please read, Mataji. Oh, today is a Saturday. I can see you swinging nicely in the.
Here. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. You're audible. Go ahead.
Sanjay Uvacha tam tatara karpaya ashru punar purna kuleshanam visithantam vakyam vacha madhusudanaha. Translation by S. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind. No, I couldn't see.
Okay, no problem.
Someone can read.
Anyone else wants to read?
His mind depressed, his eye full of fear. Madhusudana, Krishna spoke the following words.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Nice to see you in your home. Generally, you're always seen in the evening from the office. So I thought, we will have, this is like, I'm just reminded of Krishna in office and Krishna at home. So we have Shobha Mataji, home avatar. Hare Krishna. All right, Rohini Mataji, go ahead. Just read the purport. We'll end with this. Yeah.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that has overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So very wonderful purport. This is a very, very wonderful purport. It's talking about what we should actually lament for. Right? Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kamshati samasarveshu bhuteshu na teshu labate buddha. Right? So material compassion. Right? We have to be. We are always thinking of Bharat Maharaj. Whenever they talk comes of compassion, we think of Bharat Maharaj. Right? Bharat Maharaj was compassionate towards the deer. And it is natural for a devotee to be compassionate. But again, why Prabhupada is repeating the same thing, right? It seems like so much of repetition. Why? Because we are Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagyo Pudrata. We are Manda, we are foolish. Manda Sumanda Matayo, Sumanda Matayo means we are lazy, we are misguided, we are quarrelsome, and we also have Prayan Alpa. Right, we have a short lifespan. Right, so to get this Kaliyuga brain or Kaliyuga Manda brain, to be able to retain this important concept of now what is really to be lamented. That is why Prabhupada again and again quotes the same thing in the purport. So just because we are repeating the same thing again and again and again, right? Because this is not a knowledge testing class, right? This is a class where we want our knowledge to become wisdom. That is why Bhagavad Gita, when we study complete Bhagavad Gita, we study Bhagavad Gita again. Right? In another forum, when there's an opportunity, we should study Bhagavad Gita again and again and again. Right? Even Mahatma Gandhi says, whenever I am in doubt, when I pick up Bhagavad Gita, I get something by which my doubts are dispelled. Right? So Bhagavad Gita is a life manual for us. We have to continuously read Bhagavad Gita again and again. There's at no point in time we can say, I've completed the study of Bhagavad Gita. If we've completed 10th time, we start studying the Bhagavad Gita 11th time. Right? So every time we study Bhagavad Gita, we get new realizations. We get new points for application in our life. Right? So in this way, Prabhupada is mentioning here how Arjuna's lamentation for fighting against his relatives because they were going to kill him is like lamenting for not for the drowning man but for his shirt. Right? If you just pull the shirt of a person who's drowning, is that really helping the person? No. I mean, you're just, externally it seems that you're trying to help, but you're not helping the person. The person is dying. Similarly, if what is actually to be lamented or what is actually to be shared is something that will be beneficial for the soul. Simply helping a person at the bodily platform, right? Giving him food, clothing, shelter, etc. That is also good. But along with that, that is why when we give food, we should give Krishna prasadam, right? Whatever we give, we have to Krishna conscious it. So that there is also beneficial for the soul and not simply for the body. So in this way, this example is given. So let's get and make another story, and then we'll end with this. So there is a boy, say 6-7 years old, 5-6-year-old boy. He goes with his father to a mela. Right, the mela is very very crowded, and then what happens? The father very intelligently has put a tag around his son, wherein he's put his own name and his phone number. Right, and then what happens in the mela? There is a lot of balloons and there are beautiful rides, and the son actually pulls away from his father and runs here somewhere to check out something. And then the father turns and then he can't find his son. The son is somewhere else. The son is crying. Right, one person comes and gives him a nice samosa. Right, male get many foodstuffs to eat and all that. So he gives a nice samosa and gives it to the boy. The boy is very happy. The boy has a samosa, and then after having the samosa, he is happy for 5 minutes, and then again he starts crying because he can't find his father. Another person comes, and then this person gives him, and then he's crying, and then person asks him, what do you want? This boy is a small boy, 5-6-year-old. He's not able to tell why he's crying. And then what does he do? He's a balloon, and then he gives him the balloon. Now he's playing with the balloon for a longer time. For 1 hour he's playing with the balloon. After that, again he's lost interest. Right, now he's feeling hungry. Right, and there's nobody to give him samosa. Samosa is already eaten, isn't it? So now an intelligent person comes. What does he do? He sees, this boy is lost. His father is not to be found. He looks at the iCard, and then he sees the number, and then he calls the father. And then the father is like also crying. The father is more eager to find the son. The father rushes to where this man is, and then he rewards this man very nicely. This man is so very dear to him because he's actually brought his son to him, isn't it? So this man is also very, very much rewarded. And then this boy is also very happy. So he gets unlimited samosas, he gets unlimited balloons because he is now with his father. Similarly, we are all children of the Supreme Lord, but we are all attracted to this, the balloons of this material world, the samosas of this material world, and we've forgotten our father. Right, that's why spiritual masters, they come. Right, they know that Brahmandi Brahmiti Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasada Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. They know we are all, we have all lost ourselves in this material world. And that's why the spiritual master actually connects us back to Krishna. Right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the father. So the spiritual master is connecting us with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why we sing. Every day we sing. What do we sing? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadho yasya prasadan nagadi kutopi dhyayansuvam sasya yasya stri sandhyam vande guru shri charanarvindam. And the verse before that we sing Sakshadhari tvena samasta shastre युक्तस्तथा भाग्यत एव षड्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रिय एव तस्या वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणारविन्दम्. Sakshat Haritveena Samasta Shastre. All the scriptures say that the spiritual master is non-different from Lord Krishna. Why? Because the spiritual master is very dear to Lord Krishna. Why? Because the spiritual master enables all of the children of the Lord who are lost because of running behind the illusions of this material world. We've all got lost. But the spiritual master is establishing our connection back with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is why the spiritual master is very, very dear to Lord Krishna. And simply by pleasing the spiritual master, we don't know what Krishna wants. We don't know whether we are pleasing Krishna. Right? Arjuna was fortunate. Krishna was just beside him and telling him, fight, do this, do that. Right? The same guidance we get from our spiritual masters. Simply we follow their instructions, we please them, and by pleasing them, we please Guru and Gauranga. So with that, we'll end our today's session. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Shila Prabhupada Shila Gurudev ki Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. All right. So we have 11 participants who are staying back very kindly till the end of the session. So if devotees want to have any doubts or want to share any realizations, you can go ahead and ask. Anyone has anything to share? We have whom all? Rohini Mataji. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Mataji, this is not regarding Bhagavad Gita. Can you post that audio, Mataji? Last time, 2 days ago, you had said about that chant while offering bhoga to Lord.
Ah, okay. You mean the prasadam prayers or the bhoga offering prayers?
No, in that nectar of instruction, I joined halfway through 2 days ago.
I already posted the recording in the group.
I'm not on that group, maybe, Mataji. Can you put it on the announcement group, Mataji?
Okay, I'll put it in Medhavini group.
Please, yeah, okay. Audio, Mataji.
Audio, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Hare Krishna. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Shila Prabhupada Shila Gurudev ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.